This edition of UCH's virtual tours of historic houses takes us to Chester Avenue in Philadelphia, the 4500 block of Chester Avenue. These are houses that were designed by Willis Hale in 1888 and constructed in 1888 and 1889. These houses were recently put on the Historic Register from the Historic Commission in Philadelphia. I think it was back in November, actually, and are now protected. We're looking at a series of twins that are part of 41 properties that are part of the Chester-Regent Historic section. And we're going to be visiting inside one of them today, 4514, that is the home of Roy Harker and Bob Ranando. You'll see that the houses are built in sort of an A-B format. And each of them on the interior is fairly similar, but the exteriors are just slightly different. You can hear the traffic on Chester Avenue. It's a trolley transit route, so it's a little bit busy. But here we are at 4514 Chester Avenue, and all of these properties have a good amount of garden space. So we all have been pretty creative in developing these gardens, and each of the houses has a wraparound porch. I want to go back out here actually because I want to point out one other thing. Let's see if I can get over here. Each of the houses has sort of an attached turret, a very popular thing for Willis Hale actually, and certainly popular in this period. The houses have been referred to by a number of different designations: post-Victorian, Queen Anne style, Gothic Victorian, Carpenter Victorian. I've heard all kinds of things over the years, but clearly it's a vernacular that's pretty particular to Philadelphia. Let's see if we can get into some of that, okay? So we're going to head inside. The porches are very gracious, and it's a lovely place to spend some time, especially on a rainy afternoon. Next will take us inside. This is the interior. One of the few fixtures that are actually original to the house. When we bought the house in 23 years ago, there was almost no fixtures here. And let's go inside. Here we are inside. The house was built in 1889. It's 6 bedrooms, 3,800 square feet of living space, and another 1,200 square feet in basement and attic space. The wood that you see on this part of the house is all American chestnut, and it is American chestnut throughout, except for the living room. The living room is done entirely in cherry, and curiously enough, even the pocket doors, as you can see on this side, are chestnut on one side and cherry on the inside. And everything in here is carved cherry. A wood-burning fireplace with some interesting tiles with Diana the Huntress and her minions done by the Mercer Company. And here we have Minton tile on the ground. Cherry wood shutters with their original finish, plaster crown moldings. Lots of people ask about this. This is a grandfather clock from the First Baptist Church of Philadelphia at 17th and Sansom. When they were deaccessioning things, I purchased this from them. It dates to 915. It's by Bailey, Banks and Biddle. I took it apart and restored it, and it runs very well. The house here was, before we bought it 23 years ago, was in pretty poor shape. Lots of neglect, and it was rented out to College of Pharmacy students. In the case when we bought it, it was 6 girls, 6 bedrooms, 6 girls, 1 in each bedroom, and they had lots of parties. As a result, the house sustained a good amount of damage that we've had to redo. For example, these hand-nailed parquet floors, we weren't even aware of this pattern. The floor was just black from beer-soaked parties. There were even keg rings in all of the floors. So we were pleasantly surprised when we refinished the floors and found this hand-nailed and handmade parquet that goes throughout the house. Likewise, there's another pocket door here. And it is chestnut on both sides. That goes all the way across. Obviously, it's one rather large door. And this is the dining room. Once again, plaster crown molding in scale with the room. We had to strip all of the woodwork here. It was all painted, but as you can see, the chestnut came up rather nicely. Once again, a fixture that is new, actually. It wasn't part of the original design of the house. Back here is what was probably the hall for the staff, and we've closed that up and made it into a closet here. Lots of people ask about this. We've been on a number of tours now, and I've sort of made a note of what things people ask about, and I'll try to point that out and remember as much as I can about all that. But this is one of the things that people always ask about. This is a sepia tone print of the organ at Wanamaker's from the blueprints of the original drawings of the building, McKean, Mead and White, I believe. I got this when I was working there at Wanamaker's. After music school, I was working on restoration of the pipe organ there, and I even got to play at noon sometimes when Keith Chapman would let me do that. You'll find a lot of the things in the house that we've decorated with over the years have been what I call from dumpster diving. A lot of things are things that I literally salvage from the trash over the years. For example, these dogs that are part of Chinese ceremonial New Year's celebrations I pulled from the dumpster at John Wanamaker's when it was being sold. In addition, these things, which also seem to get lots of questions, I pulled these from the dumpster. They were part of a campaign from PSFS. They actually predate the tower at 12th and Market, and they have fun sayings on them. I use that word. Curious is probably a better word. But for example, I'll read to you. Dropping 1 pebble at a time into a pitcher, thus forcing the water to the top, saved a dying crow's life. Steadily saving for some definite purpose has been the beginning of many a success. And each one of them are extorting you to save with PSFS. A curious thing indeed. These tour chairs here are original to the house. No longer gas, we have them candlelit now, but the house was all gas at one point, and there are a number of jets throughout the house that you'll probably see in some of these photographs. Next we head to another popular stop, and that is this butler's pantry. Between the dining room and the kitchen, convenient cabinetry with drawers, and this very popular element, a copper sink, which is still in its original condition and an original finish. It polishes up nicely, as you can see. But we've turned this into sort of a wet bar. As you can see, these are drawings by Jeff Schaller. And it makes for a very good flow for throwing parties. The house has been the site of a lot of parties and a lot of happy memories for us. We even had our wedding celebration, our wedding reception here, 150 people here inside the house and out in the backyard, which you'll see in a minute. And then we put in this commercial kitchen. There was practically nothing here, so we started from scratch. The only thing we saved was this floor-to-ceiling cabinet that you see here, but everything else is new. People ask, this is Corian countertop, and there's a fresh pie that Bob just baked, so make you feel even more welcome. But obviously the kitchen can be pretty busy at times. This has served us pretty well. Also, you'll notice schoolhouse lamps throughout the house. More dumpster diving. I've got about 20 of them. I salvaged them from First Baptist at 17th and Sansom again when they were renovating there. And if you want some, give me a call because I've got an attic full of them. And I would be glad to see them go to another new home. We also still have our rear staircase. The staircase goes up to what I assume was the staff apartment, and then goes down to the basement by way of a circular staircase so they could feed the coal furnaces during the winter. A relic of another time, obviously. One last stop on the first floor before we go outside. This back room, laundry room, we've made into a laundry room, but everybody asks about this soapstone sink. If you have one in your house, do not get rid of it. It is a very handy thing to have. I use it for all kinds of stuff, and of course for the washing as well. So it's a good thing to have, and it certainly does get people's attention. You fill it up with ice and it becomes a great party cooler for all of your parties because the drain is built right in. And here's another schoolhouse lamp, obviously. So that takes care of inside on the first floor. We're going to head next outdoor to the garden spot. Now we'll head outside to the backyard. This sort of becomes the center of our house during this time of the year, during the nice weather. This, like the rest of the house, was in pretty rough shape when we bought the place. The backyard was really just a dump. Glass, tires, bricks, nothing else. But I designed this deck that Louis Tannen built that uses the same finials that are inside the house, and a brick patio, little water feature. It's a nice place to spend the summertime, and just enough gardening for me. Not too much, not too little. It's all very satisfying. It's a nice place to be. Next we'll be heading up to the second floor. And here we are on the second floor. This whole floor we've turned into a bit of a master suite, actually. So here is the bedroom, the master bedroom, which I guess was probably for staff at the time. Crown molding, plaster crown molding around. It's a replica of the light fixture. A chestnut, carved chestnut, wood-burning fireplace. This is a harpsichord built in 1981 by the late Vince Doolin, which is one of my practice instruments. So this room pretty much serves as the bedroom, whereas this bedroom has been dedicated to a changing room and storage for clothes. These are all IKEA cabinets. Reading room, exercise. And then this room, this third bedroom, is studio or den space. There's my practice instrument there. sofa, and this is where we keep our TV. This room serves all of these functions. I should note these windows are another one of my dumpster finds. Back in 1980, the Central Baptist Church of Palmyra literally tore out all of their leaded glass windows and replaced them with vinyl. So I pulled these out of the dumpster. This was 2 out of what was about 30 windows that they took out. All of the houses here on Chester Avenue have, or had perhaps, one of these armoires. It's chestnut. I stripped some of the paint off of some of it, so we lovingly refer to these as our Packards. So this is pretty much the second floor. Let me show you also, though, the bathroom. Completely redone. It was in pretty tough shape. We had to redo all the plumbing, but we retrofitted all of the fixtures so that it's pretty much in its original configuration. We replaced all the wainscot, and the floor is milled from the pews at the Swedenborgen Church at 21st and Chestnut. So all of this is wood that was reclaimed from the pews from that church. Here are 3 windows. Obviously, in the 1880s, people were a little bit reluctant to have indoor plumbing, and they were concerned about what they called vitrified air. So here is plenty of windows for ventilation for the elimination, according to the plans, elimination of vitrified air. This is the original clawfoot tub and the original pedestal sink as well. Next we'll be heading off to the 3rd floor. Here's a Jeff Schaller cow, but before we go up there, I wanted to point out one of the things that people ask about. These are lithographs that were meant to accompany the 1962 Benjamin Britten War Requiem. They are lithographs that were used as illustrations for each of the movements of the Requiem. Obviously, they're pretty grim. It was dealing with the Vietnam War. And these lithographs were given to Earl Ness, who did the Philadelphia premiere in 1964 here in Philadelphia, and I inherited them from him. So next we'll be heading on up to the 3rd floor. Here's some more of those finials that we all had to replace. And I'll spare you all the creaking stairs. I'll meet you at the top of the stairs. So here we are on the 3rd floor of the house. This is the guest room, bedroom number 4. We're high up with the high ceilings of this house. This 3rd floor is literally 30 feet above ground. So we're at the tree canopy, so it's a nice bright area, and because of the mansard roof and the dormers that are cut out, interesting shapes also in this space. We entertain a lot of guests here, and it's a very comfortable room, and just down the hall they have their own bathroom. Going down the hall, I'll point out this skylight here. It's actually not a skylight, it's a glass floor. The skylight is actually on the floor above it. There's a full attic above the house and acts as a 4th floor. And this is one of the few fixtures that were actually left behind for us. On the wall, these always get a lot of questions. On the wall is a series of what is called Stations of the Cross. They were done by a nun in Lancaster area. It's molten lead drizzled onto slate, and each one of them depicts one of the Stations of the Cross. They're immaculately done, and once again, this is an inheritance from Earl Ness that I got a few years back. Going down the hall, full bathroom number 2. Likewise, we've had to completely redo this, floors and plumbing. but it's basically the same shape and same configuration as the floor downstairs, and it has the same trio of windows here. The only thing we could save here was the clawfoot tub. The sink and the toilet, of course, are all new. And then last, bedroom number 6. I bypassed bedroom number 5 because we basically use that for storage, studio space, and for archival material. But this is my office on the 3rd floor. Bedroom number 6 has its shutters, same size as all of the rooms. All the rooms, interesting enough, measure 15 by 15. And so this one is my office. This is underneath the gabled section of the house. So you see we have some interesting shapes taking place here as well. And the intersection with the cone that's outside as well. That pretty much concludes the tour here. I'll certainly look forward to the time when I can greet you all personally, and I hope that will be sometime soon. In the meantime, we'll be happy to have more virtual tours from UCHS coming up in the near future.